I implore you, we must destroy that tower.
Sergeant, that tower is one of the oldest and most treasured of all the historically important structures still standing. And I'm not gonna be the son of a bitch responsible for turning 1,000 years of history into dust. The tower stands!
Hello YouTube and hello 9th Age community. This is Charles with Evershit Gaming, and I've got another 9th Age battle report. This is Siege of the Tower, game number 3, and I have the pleasure of playing Jeff Durham against his Dwarven Holds, and let's take a look at his list. I'll be honest, when I looked at his list in the podcast, I thought it was really gross. I thought it was really powerful. And then when I realized I had to play him, I was like, oh shoot, this is going to be really tough. Because he's got a king, like, basically a king that's going to destroy anything, but also that's going to withstand a lot of damage. And actually a really bad matchup for my Prelate with the Locket, because we swapped Resilience, and then he gets to activate his runes. It's like, oh. And then he's got a Thane with 3 runes of Lightning and Dragon Breath, so, like, that guy could just chew through, like, my, like, Imperial Guard. That's just, like, so much damage output that he can do. And then he's got a Runesmith with Devouring, 29 Greybeards with the Runic Banner of Wisdom, which is actually a cool banner. They get to get a bounce spell, basically. 20 Clan Marksman with Crossbows, 23 Kingsguard with the Shielding Banner, that gives them 5 up against shooting, and then 24 Wardens, the good Catapult, the good Organ Gun, and the good Cannon. We were playing 2 pennies as our objective, so that's how they're spaced out. One's near a rune, one's kind of near my side of the field, and that's pretty much how Jeff just deployed right there. So he's got on the far right, it's dwarves, so I mean it's pretty compact deployment. So he's on the far right, he's got his 24 Wardens, and I believe that's where his BSB started out. And then to the left of them are his 20 Clan Marksmen with their crossbows. And they're all really nice, close to the objective, which is good for him. And then next to the forest, to the right of the forest, are his Kingsguard with his king in it. And then in the forest, he's got a cannon. His cannon, Organ Gun, and Catapult are all kind of like smushed together. The nice thing about his war machines is I believe they're all but one is large, I think. I think the Organ Gun's not large, so they can see over each other. And then he's got his Greybeards with his Runesmith to the left of the woods. So this is how I kind of counter deployed. I think we traded a couple drops, and then I had so many more that I was going to out deploy him, or have more units to deploy. So I kind of had to keep. I felt like I needed to stay back because those Organ Guns terrify me. So I've got 5 Knights on the left. I was going to try and wrap around and score with them. 10 Archers, kind of woods. I didn't really have a good plan for those guys this game. Cannon in the woods to maybe protect against, I guess maybe the Organ Gun, but the Organ Gun was out of range. So my 4 Knights Sun Government also out of the range of the Organ Gun. My Imperial Guard, they're actually going to move into that field, and my Wizard, all my characters are in there. Right now they're out of range of the Organ Gun. The Light Infantry also like more than 30 inches away from that, just kind of holding back. Didn't want to put them too close because I just think they would just get wiped out in a turn. Mortar was in range of, I want to say, the Organ Gun and sitting on the hill right there, but I didn't want to just leave it back there. I think it was one of the first things I deployed, actually, was the mortar. And then I've got my Arcane Engine behind the hill because I wanted to try and use the Ice and Fire on the Forge Wardens. The 20 Heavy Infantry, 22 Heavy Infantry, they were also one of the early deployments. They're all the way up. This scenario, we had extended flanks on both sides. And then I just have my crossbow men and my steam tank on that side too. Again, I was just going to try and pick on those Forge Wardens as much as I could. Turn 1, he gets a rune off on his Organ Gun. He doesn't really do too much moving either. I think he had a lot more shooting than me, so he was going to try and force me there. His turn 1 shooting doesn't really do much, so we go right into EOS turn 1. And I really don't have that much movement. The only big moving thing I do is I moved my Arcane Engine up a little bit to be able to Ice and Fire them, and I moved my Imperial Guard into the field so I can Ice and Fire his Organ Gun. I threw the 3d6 leadership test on the Light Infantry because the Catapult was in range, and I was worried that Catapult would get one hit, panic that unit, and just send them off the board. The magic phase, I get a 7 flux card. I'm able to get an ice and fire off on the Forge Wardens, and I think I do like 3 or 4 wounds to them. I think it goes straight through the armor with the ice side. And then in the shooting phase, I want to say I think I hit his cannon with my cannon, and I do 3 wounds. So I was pretty happy about that. And then right into Warrant's turn 2, and he doesn't really have too much movement to. Again, he's kind of holding back, but he is in range to fire against my heavy infantry, and he kills a bunch of those Forge Wardens, and he sends them running. And then he shoots at my Imperial Guard with his organ gun, but he's got a lot of penalties, so he only really does a couple wounds. And then he misfires with his catapult, which was big, and he also misfired with his cannon too, which was also, unfortunately, Jeff had a lot of misfires. That I think he had 4 misfires in this whole game. You'll see later on. Unfortunately, his war machines were not on their A game, I guess. EOS turn 2, I get a flux card 3. Again, I'm not really moving all that much. This is just like a little bit of kind of like maneuvering on the sides, but mainly holding in place because I've got my range on my spells. I'm just trying to blast away his war machines. So with in the magic phase, I get an ice and fire off, and I do 3 wounds to his organ gun, which was great. Now it's getting really manageable. If I can hit it with a war machine, I can basically take it off the table. And then I think I get another ice and fire off over here, and then I want to say he devours the rune on my Arcane engine, which I didn't know they could devour bounce spells, which is really cool. But unfortunately, now that unit doesn't have anything to do. Dwarvenhold's turn 3. I think he's starting to feel the pressure of my magic, and his shooting was like not performing well enough. So he actually started moving forward with his 2 big blocks in the middle. Which is also not he was also kind of moving to claim that objective, because right now the one on the right he could get easily, but the one in the middle we could contend. So he shoots his cannon at my Knights of Sun Griffon, does a couple wounds to them, and then Emperor's Onslaught turn 3. Again, I have very little movement. Pretty much on the right side, I just was like, I didn't want to deal with those Forge Wardens. And I thought if they got too close, I could use the steam tank against them. And I was just going to let the crossbows keep picking at them. But the heavy infantry rallied, and they just kind of start making their way over. Because I didn't see any way to really deal with them. I needed something faster and like a little bit heavier. And I didn't really like the idea of the Knights of Sun Griffon, because I feel like I'd have to get too close. And at that strength 5, they could really pick a lot of wounds off. I throw a Steadyman in my Imperial Guard because it's the only unit that can receive an order, and they are getting shot by the organ gun. Just don't want to fail break test randomly. I get a flux card 2, not the best one, but I still can do some damage with it. Actually, I don't really think I get that many spells off. I might get a nice and fire off here or there, or might get altered sight on something. But otherwise, not too much. My cannon targets his catapult and takes it off the table, so that was awesome. It's one less war machine to deal with. And I think my mortar gets a hit on the Greybeards. I want to say it got partial. I want to say it kept getting partial hits the whole game. And it's just doing like a wound or 2 here and there. It is a big block though, so it's a lot of potential. Dwarvenhold's turn 4 again. He's just creeping towards that objective marker with those 2 units. I think I kept thinking that the unit on the left was Deep Watch. And not Greybeards. If they were Greybeards, I think I would have been more aggressive. But unfortunately, again, my Arcane engine's on the wrong side of the table at this point. So I was like really wary of going into either unit and taking a lot of casualties, and then maybe my Imperial Guard unit getting down below 25%, just losing points. So I basically just kept holding off and just kept whittling them down. He gets a rune off on his Greybeards. I'm not even sure what it is. A lot of times I was just like, right now I'm just focusing fire on the King's Guard. So if he was getting runes off on the Greybeards, I just let him go. EOS turn 4. Again, not that much movement. I might have just crept back a little bit, but I get flux card 5. And I cast Altered Sight on my handguns. At my light infantry. At this point, they are within range, which is awesome. So they can actually start doing some work. And then I think it's just showing how many Veil tokens I have, but also it's, I guess, probably the order card. I'm just putting, oh, it's a reform, really. That's what it is. I've been taking some damage against that organ gun, you know, like 2 or 3 models every turn, so I had to reform to kind of go 7 wide. But I'm keeping long reach on my unit just in case. I think the mortar hits again. Mortar keeps hitting on a partial hit and keeps killing like a couple dwarves here and there. Just sneaking, like, you know, some wounds through with them. Over here shooting with the light infantry, though, I think I did like 4 wounds, which is pretty good, because I was at long range, not accurate, so it's not too bad with that altered sight. And then over here, I think this was just damage from my crossbowmen. They've been kind of plinking at them most of the game and just trying to do a little bit of damage here or there. Dornhold's turn 5. I want to say on this turn that the Kingsguard might have attempted a charge onto my Imperial Guard, and we're pretty evenly matched up at this point. We both have hatred. That's what the Buckeye marker, that's what the poker chip is marking, and I think we would just obliterate each other, but he might have the advantage in there. His cannon misfires again. This is another misfire, and it just kills itself, unfortunately. So he loses his cannon. And then this is a rune he puts on the Greybeards, and I let that one go. I'm pretty much stopping 2 runes a turn. So I put on the double on my EOS, not to charge. It's so cowardly, but not to charge, but to actually back up, because I'm like just too nervous to commit the Imperial Guard without the Arcane engine behind them. So I'm like, let's just back up a little bit. So we actually creep out of the fields, and we're probably within 6 inches of the light infantry again. Yeah, so that's how far the Imperial Guard moved back. Knights of Sun Griffon are kind of keeping their distance too, because they could do like a lot of damage, but they also, you know, they took 2 wins earlier in the game. But now the Arcane engine is within range. So the good thing is, even if he charges his Kingsguard in, now they're in for a world of hurt because I get to go first, and they're just gonna now I can take either of these units down. If only it wasn't turn 5. I get Altered Sight on my light infantry. This spell's so easy to get off every turn. It's so easy to cast this and cast a boosted Ice and Fire. Which I do cast a boosted Ice and Fire and do some more wounds to the Kingsguard unit. Because I think that's still my greatest threat. And it's a unit I wanted to try and take down too, maybe in the last turn. And then I also shoot my my steam tank, or I think it was the steam tank that got it. Steam tank shoots and takes care of that organ gun, so that was great. And I want to say the steam tank was, yeah, it was able to stay out of range of the organ gun too, which was amazing. Yeah, because at 36 inches. On his turn, he gets one of his runes off on his Greybeards again. Unfortunately, again, I'm not really worried about the Greybeards, just worried about the Kingsguard. And I want to say that's the only thing that really happens. Other than that, he moves in front of the objective marker, so he basically keeps me from getting that objective on that side of the board. And then at the start of EOS Turn 6, I put Brace for Impact on my Imperial Guard, give him that fine extra rank, and we charge into the Kingsguard. Yeah, bodyguard on bodyguard. We go into combat, and I think I wanted to say I tried to cast a couple different spells. I wanted to get Uni Divergence up for a 5-word save just in case, but I think I ended up getting the bounce spell version of that off. However, it really didn't matter all that much, and I blew through the unit. I actually killed every single Kingsguard in the unit, and then his king killed a few of my guys, and then the king had to flee, and he went short, and I was able to chase him down. Now I'm contesting that objective, fortunately, but he has the objective. So this is where the game is about to end, and I thought about charging the Knights of Sun Griffon and the Greybeards. I think I just figured that they were going to hold, and that I might have taken a lot of damage back. I mean, I got to go first, but he still had a lot of attacks. He's like hitting on 3s. It's only strength 4, but it's AP 2. With the Runesmith, so I kind of just decided just to save their points and then just kind of have it like that, just trying to get a lot of points. I was really worried I was going to have a lot of time even getting any points this game, so I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. So the units that are left, I pretty much only lost a couple units because I held a lot of things back. He's still got his Greybeards left, or his Greybeards left, his Quarrelers, his Crossbowmen, and his Forge Wardens. So the game ends up being a 12-8, I want to say, for myself. I just had with getting those Kingsguard right at the last turn, I picked up a ton of points, and again, I want to say I only lost a couple units. I want to say I lost my Crossbowmen, and that might have been it, actually. I conserved a lot of points that game just by, holding everything back. If I played my Knights a little bit better, I could have actually won that objective on that side of my side of the board, and then, we would have tied on objective. But, nevertheless, it was a nice little win for the Empire Sunstone Army, and thank you for watching Siege of the Tower Round 3, and I'll have Siege of the Tower Round 4 up very soon. Have a great week, everybody. This is Evershit Gaming.